Good morning, students. Today we are going to take up chapter 4, part A. Now, this chapter 4 and chapter 5 together would be forming unit 2. We will be taking up with POSDC cycle, that is planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling, as separate chapter now onwards. Theoretically, we start with planning as the first step of management function. Now, the question comes, what is planning? Now, planning is deciding in advance what is to be done, when, where, how, and by whom it is to be done. Therefore, it bridges the gap from where we are today and where we want to go in future. It includes selection of objective policies, procedure and program from the existing alternatives. Now this last part, that is different types of plan, we'll be doing in part B of planning chapter. So we take up in this unit the definition part of planning, characteristic, importance, and limitations along with the process. Now, if we take a simple example, lesson planning when we are doing while we are to teach a particular topic in a particular class. What we do, we have to decide what am I teaching, how will I teach, do my students understand what I have taught, and who am I teaching, which age group. Now, there are two major phrases that moves when we talk of planning, and we cannot ignore it. First, plan your work and then work on your plan. We have to break this in two phrases. Plan your work is first part, which is theoretical. Intellectual activity, you have to go for planning. Then, second phrase, work on your plan. This is implementation part or execution part. Execution part. So normally earlier it used to be a 6-mark question. Elucidate, plan your work and then work on your plan. Nowadays they are not asking this question, but it has to be used as a phrase in your day-to-day conversation also. Second is, well planned is half done. Since this is the first process of management, if you have done proper planning, half of your work is clear. And next we say is failing to plan is planning to fail. We are playing with words here. We are playing with words here that if you have not planned, be prepared to be failed. Next we come down with the relationship between planning and controlling. Relationship in between planning and controlling. Since we say planning is the first function and controlling is the last. So one sequence of management function, when it ends, the controlling pushes the next sequence of management function. That is, the new step of planning continues on the basis of last phase of controlling. So this is why we say there is the inverse relationship in between planning and controlling. There is inverse relationship in between planning and controlling. If you plan properly, controlling goes automatic. Second, it is both forward looking as well as backward looking. We'll see the characteristics of planning. We'll see the characteristics of planning. First, it is a managerial function. Anybody who assumes a state of a manager, whether in an organization or an institution or other way in a social organization also, has to take up this planning function. And managers also at different levels. Top level management has to do different type of planning. Low level management has to go for different type of planning, and middle level of course with different type of planning. This part we'll take in our next session, that what are the different types of plan, which different levels they take up. Then second is goal oriented. If you say you are happy whether you get 90% or you get 70%, you don't need to go for planning your studies. You don't need to. It is only required if you have a specified goal that you want this much. Qualitative and quantitative, you have to specify your goal. And then your planning will be directed towards it. Your planning would be directed towards your goal. Next is pervasive. We have already dealt pervasive, penetrating to different levels. Penetrating to different levels. That is, planning is taken up, what we said in the initial phase, at all the levels, top, middle, low. Then it is a continuous activity. It is a continuous activity in the sense that your business, your institution is an ongoing activity. It's not one-time activity, and therefore every time you take up next activity, you have to go for planning. For example, in your school, your academic calendar is being planned by the routine in charges and others, seeing into consideration all the holidays and other activities, seasonal changes also. Now, it's not that 1 year you have done and it is static and it is being taken up every year. Every year you have to review it. You'll be reviewing it. If a change is required, you have to do that change also. Then, coming to the next one, intellectual process. Intellectual process. When I say intellectual, that means any Tom and Hardy cannot take a planning process. You need to have some mental level in terms of awareness and knowledge in order to take up this planning activity. Now, this intellectual part is a relative activity or a relative point. For a child, intellectual level might be something else. For a professional, something else. And for a spiritual leader, intellectual process, intellectual level will be different. So at whichever level you are, it's only when you have an intellectual blend of mind, that you can take up planning. Next is futuristic. We had shown right in the beginning where you are at the present and where you want to be in future. Through planning, you bridge up this gap. Through planning, you are bridging up this gap. So it is always futuristic. It is always futuristic. Near future or a far-sightedness. That might vary, but it is always for a future purpose. Then, last but not the least, is decision making. Wherever you are planning, you are indulging in a decision making process. You are taking decisions. What to do, what not to do. How to do, when to do. All interrogative sessions will come while you are taking decisions. So, characteristics of planning. If we recapitulate, it's a managerial function, goal-oriented, pervasive, continuous, intellectual process, futuristic, and involves decision making. Next, we come down to the importance of planning. Why at all? You could see the boy with all sort of ideas coming out from him. We say it's a mental process. Why should you go for this much of taxing your brain? It's only when you get some benefit out of it that you'll go for it. So we'll take up the importance or the benefits of planning. First, it provides the direction in which you have to move. It streamlines your effort. It streamlines your effort. And then when your focus is clear on what to do, your decision making is easier. You can take decisions in an easygoing manner, and I'll not say you eliminate risk, but by planning, you try to minimize the level of risk. We'll say what you have learned in 11th as speculative and non-speculative. We are not going for speculation. We are taking calculated risk while we are planning. Then, after all, the planning is done because you want to have a standard. You want to have a standard. You say without 90% I cannot survive, or 95 plus. I won't even get the forms for a particular college. So you have set a standard for yourself and you want to control yourself for that standard. So this planning is providing standards for controlling. Then, while you are planning, you are reviewing all the activities, and whichever activity you find is worthless, is of no use, or there is a duplication of it, you curtail that activity. So you are reducing or removing the unnecessary or duplicating activities. Then, above all, if you are involved in this thinking process, in planning process, from time to time, you get different ideas. And once we use the word idea, we use innovation with it, innovative ideas. Okay? So planning is promoting innovative ideas. That is why we say right from the childhood, we need to develop this habit of planning. Within the framework of your approach, whatever you are working, you should be involved in planning. A small child planning his games. As you grow up, planning your studies, then your career, then your marital life, and so on. We come down to disadvantages. We are coming down to disadvantages. No matter what we say, every coin has two sides. So if we have importance or the benefits of it, we do have limitations of it also. Now we broadly subclassify the limitations within two major groups. Internal, that is within the system, and external, that is beyond your control. External, that is beyond your control. Now when we talk of internal limitation, a normal approach what we human being have is man proposes, God disposes the way he wants. So why to go for planning? And if you go for planning, then rigidity is there. You are fixing yourself within a tunnel and you don't want to see left or right. You are moving ahead in a streamlined manner. So there's rigidity in it. Then, if your planning is misdirected right at the initial stage, It will further continue and the problem will be amplified. Then we say it is not a guarantee to success because there's always a probability in planning. So whatever time I've spent would be a waste. So it is time consuming, and if it is clubbed with the probability part, the disaster is intensified. The disaster is intensified. And this giving you a false sense of security that I've planned everything. Now I should stop thinking. I should go on working on what I've planned. It gives you a false sense of security because your dynamic nature of environment makes you to be vigilant. Makes you to be vigilant. And while you are planning, definitely you are using resources. Even time is one of the resources. And when we convert these resources in terms of money, the manpower involved. So man-hour payment you are doing for planning, it becomes expensive. It becomes expensive. So these are your major internal limitations while we are going for planning. Now come down to external limitations. External limitations of planning. Now external is beyond your control. Beyond your control. For example, first one, political changes. What is the political environment? It keeps on changing with the new party coming in. You could not predict very long for it. Then is labor union. My employees are under my control. I can monitor them. I can predict their behavior. But what about the labor union from different companies of the same industry? From different companies of the same industry. So that part I cannot overlook as an external limitation. Then technology moving fast. Am I in a position to respond to it? Has my cost being absorbed about it? Is a risk factor. Then policies of the competitors who are there in the market. Now, here when I say competitors, I am more concerned about both intra and inter. For example, if I am selling potatoes and you are selling tennis ball, I'm least bothered because the one who has to buy potato will come to me and the one who has to buy tennis ball will go to you. We are two different lines of business. But when we are in the same line, yes, any change in the price, any change in the marketing strategy would affect me. But as an investor, if you see whether you are selling potato or you are selling tennis ball, what I want as an investor, return on investment. Whosoever is giving me more, I'll switch over and I will pull out my fund and move into that company for investment. So both parts we have to see when we talk about competitors. Then natural calamities beyond control of anybody is a limitation, and changes in the demand, price, trends. Accordingly, you have to adapt. So these were the disadvantages into two, internal and external. Now come down to planning process. Planning process. Now this plus please be very alert. Normally what happened, it was a patent question of 6 marks and the child used to go for a flow diagram in boxes getting full marks. Now what they do is, they keep a big case and they say by quoting the lines, identify which step of planning process has been taken up. Now, the first activity is You have to establish the objective or the target that you want to achieve. What you want to do, that you have to decide, for which you need to go for planning. Then you have to develop various strategies which at times merges at your level with objective part only. Now, once you have decided your objectives, you have to determine the premises. Now, the moment I say determination of premises means what? Tell me. It is like saying that I have given you a stage to perform. I have fixed the boundary. So the limitations within which you have to operate, that you have to decide. That what is your boundary of working? Then within those limitations that I have provided, you have to develop various alternatives. You have to develop various alternatives. It's like saying when you have to go to college for studying, we say, my financial limitation is this much for your studying. Then we put certain physical limitations not beyond India, within India. Then also we put certain limitations in terms of branches. Now, within these given limitations, you have to choose the college, right? So you're developing various alternatives for yourself, and you have to critically evaluate all the alternatives. Now, when I say critically evaluating all the alternatives, going for the pros and cons of all the alternatives. And you go for opportunity cost and sacrificing cost before you go for selecting a final course of action or a final plan for implementation. Now, what is this opportunity cost and sacrificing cost? I've given you 100 rupees for your use. You have 5 options in your hand. You want to buy some books. You want to have maybe Cadbury. You want to give your friend as gift. You want to put it in your money box, or you want to have some other contingencies in your hand. Now, the moment you choose one, rest of the options get cancelled. If I have bought a book, the money is used. So all other options get cancelled. So the cost of taking one, or the benefit, the happiness of selecting that alternative should be such that I should not repent for the options that I have sacrificed. This is what, while evaluating the alternatives, you have to do. You have to critically go for analyzing the opportunity cost and the sacrificing cost. Then, based on this evaluation, you go for selecting the best course of action, and you develop certain derivative plans along with it. Now, this derivative plan also, your CBSE has merged into the main part of selecting a course of action, and they straight away come to implementation plan. Implementation of the plans. Now, after implementation, that means you have started working on it, but it is not coming to an end. Reviewing is follow-up. And we have not shown any arrow, but we say it is a continuous process. That means this follow-up is a parallel process. You can always put one thing, you can put ... to connect the reviewing with the establishing process objective. That is, when we say follow-up is a parallel process, the moment you find there's an error, you revert back rather than continuing with that. You'll not continue with that process. You'll move back. For example, suppose at the time of developing alternatives, I felt my objectives are too high. It is a theoretical thing, I cannot achieve it. I'll revert back from there only. I'll again go for setting new objective. I'll start working from there. So wherever follow-up means what? It is a parallel process of monitoring. And wherever you find that there is an error, you rectify it at that particular point itself, rather than dragging that error till the end. Now, with this, we are finished with part A of our planning chapter. Wish you all the best during this lockdown phase, that you work hard. We'll be coming soon with the next slide and part B, that is hierarchy of plan. Stay tuned, start working with the topics as we proceed.